Welcome to my channel Alien Signal. The galaxy called them the Vorakai, apex predators, nightmare creatures born on the death world of Kharon Prime, where the oceans boiled during summer and lightning storms could tear mountains apart. The Vorakai stood nearly 10 feet tall on 4 muscular limbs, covered in black armored scales with glowing amber eyes that could see through darkness. Their jaws could crush steel. Their claws could rip armored soldiers in half. For 3 centuries, every civilized species feared them. And for 3 centuries, humanity stayed far away from Kharon Prime. Until the war began, the Dravari Imperium descended on the outer colonies without warning. Entire human worlds vanished in nuclear fire. Cities burned, fleets shattered. The Imperium believed humans were weak, emotional creatures that could be exterminated quickly. They were wrong. Humanity fought harder than expected, but the Dravari possessed superior numbers and ancient technology stolen from extinct civilizations. One colony after another fell beneath their war machines. Then came the siege of New Carthage. Commander Elena Voss stood inside the underground bunker beneath the ruined city, staring at the holographic battlefield projections. Red markers flooded the display like blood spreading through water. Her exhausted officers waited silently. "We have 6 hours before the eastern defense collapses," Major Harlan said quietly. "Maybe less." Elena rubbed her tired eyes. She had not slept in 43 hours. And evacuation ships. Gone. Silence filled the room. Above them, the city trembled as orbital bombardments shook the planet's surface. Somewhere nearby, children were crying. Elena turned toward the small refugee section of the bunker. Hundreds of civilians were packed together beneath flickering emergency lights. Mothers held infants. Fathers tried to comfort terrified children. Most would be dead before sunrise. Unless she made an impossible choice. "There may be one option," she said slowly. Her officers looked up. Major Harlan frowned. "What kind of option?" Elena enlarged a sector of the map. A dark planet appeared on the screen. Kharon Prime. The room instantly erupted. "No, you can't be serious. That's suicide." Elena raised her voice. "Listen to me." Silence returned reluctantly. "The Dravari won't follow civilians there. They fear the Vorakai more than anything in this quadrant. Because the Vorakai eat everything that lands on their planet," another officer snapped. "Yes," Elena replied. "Normally." She hesitated, then activated classified files. Ancient footage appeared above the table. Grainy images from decades ago showed a crashed human exploration vessel deep within Kharon Prime's jungles. And beside the wreckage, Vorakai, huge predators surrounding crying human survivors. But they were not attacking. They were protecting them. The officers stared in disbelief. "We buried this report," Elena explained. "The survivors claimed the Vorakai defended them from other predators for nearly 3 months until rescue arrived." "That's impossible." "I thought so too. But there were more reports afterward. Rare encounters. Strange behavior around human children specifically." Major Harlan leaned closer. "You think they recognize infants?" "I think," Elena paused carefully, "they may instinctively imprint on them." The room became deathly quiet. Outside, another explosion thundered overhead. Finally Harlan spoke. "You're talking about leaving our children inside predator nests." Elena's voice broke slightly. "I'm talking about giving them a chance to live." 3 hours later, the last surviving transport escaped New Carthage under heavy fire. It carried no soldiers, only children, hundreds of them, infants, toddlers, young boys and girls too small to understand why their parents stayed behind. The transport's pilot never stopped crying during the journey. When they reached Kharon Prime, the crew flew low across endless black forests and volcanic mountains until thermal scanners located Vorakai nesting grounds. Massive structures of stone and bone stretched across the jungle valleys like monstrous hives. The pilot's hands trembled. "We can still turn back," he whispered. Commander Elena shook her head. "No," she said softly. "We can't." The transport descended. The jungle below moved. Huge shapes emerged from the darkness between trees. Vorakai, dozens of them. Their glowing eyes followed the ship. The hatch opened slowly. Some children cried immediately. Others stared silently. The crew placed survival packs beside them. Food, blankets, medical supplies, and backed away toward the ship. Then they left. No speeches. No final promises. Only tears. As the engines roared overhead and disappeared into the clouds, little Mia Wren stood alone near the edge of the nest valley clutching a stuffed rabbit. She was 4 years old. And very, very afraid. The jungle became silent. Then came the growls. Deep, thunderous. The Vorakai emerged from the darkness one by one. Massive creatures circled the children carefully. Some sniffed the air. Others crouched low, studying them with glowing amber eyes. One infant began screaming. A Vorakai female approached slowly. The humans watching remotely from orbit held their breath. The predator lowered its massive head and gently nudged the crying baby closer against its chest. The infant stopped crying instantly. Shock spread across every human monitoring station. The Vorakai female made a strange rumbling sound. Then another predator approached carrying fresh meat. Not for itself, for the children. Within hours, the impossible became reality. The Vorakai adopted them. Months passed. The war outside Kharon Prime grew worse. Human colonies continued falling, but rumors began spreading through military channels about strange sightings on the Forbidden World. Dravari scout teams vanished near the planet. Ships disappeared in orbit. Entire strike forces were torn apart. No survivors returned. The Dravari finally sent an elite recon fleet to investigate. What they discovered horrified them. Human children were alive, living among the Vorakai, playing beside creatures once considered unstoppable monsters. Tiny infants slept safely between massive scaled bodies inside enormous nesting caverns warmed by volcanic heat. Toddlers climbed across armored backs while Vorakai guarded them like sacred treasures. And the children were changing. Not physically, emotionally. They no longer feared the predators. The predators no longer acted like beasts. They acted like family. The Dravari commander ordered immediate extermination. That was his final mistake. The first attack lasted exactly 11 minutes. Vorakai erupted from the jungles in coordinated packs unlike anything previously recorded. They struck with terrifying intelligence. They ambushed armored vehicles, collapsed cliffs onto troop formations, and attacked landing ships before they could deploy reinforcements. Human military analysts watching intercepted footage were stunned. The Vorakai were not behaving like animals anymore. They were behaving like soldiers. One transmission captured the final moments of a Dravari officer. "They're protecting the human offspring," he screamed. "Stars above, they're communicating." The feed ended in static and blood. Across the galaxy, fear began spreading. Because something impossible was happening on Kharon Prime. The Vorakai were evolving, and humanity had triggered it. 7 years later, the war reached Earth itself. Humanity stood on the edge of extinction. The remaining defense fleets gathered above Luna for a final battle against the massive Dravari armada. Commander Elena Voss, older now, exhausted beyond words, stood aboard Earth Command Station watching enemy ships fill the stars. "We cannot win this," an admiral admitted quietly. Everyone knew it. Then the sensors detected something new. Thousands of incoming vessels. Unknown signatures. Panic spread through command instantly. Until visual confirmation arrived. Organic ships. Living vessels grown from black crystalline structures. And inside them, Vorakai. The command center fell silent. At the front of the fleet stood a single enormous ship unlike the others. Its hull bore painted human handprints across black armor plating. A transmission opened. Static crackled. Then a familiar voice spoke. Commander Elena. Her breath caught. Mia, the little girl from Kharon Prime, was now a young woman. Raised among predators. Her eyes appeared on the screen beside an enormous Vorakai standing silently behind her. We heard humanity was in danger, Mia said calmly. Family protects family. Behind her, thousands of Vorakai warriors waited. The Dravari attacked immediately. The battle that followed became legend. Vorakai ships rammed enemy cruisers like berserk beasts. Boarding packs tore through armored corridors with claws and plasma weapons combined. Human fleets fought beside monsters once feared across the galaxy. And for the first time in the war, the Dravari retreated. Humanity had survived. But the true shock came afterward. Because once the war ended, scientists finally learned the truth about the Vorakai. They were never mindless predators. Millions of years earlier, the Vorakai had been highly intelligent. But Kharon Prime's brutal ecosystem forced them into primal survival instincts. Over generations, they lost language, technology, even civilization itself. Until human children arrived, something about human infants triggered ancient dormant instincts buried deep within Vorakai biology, protective pack bonding behaviors linked to their forgotten past. Humanity had not tamed monsters. They had awakened a dying civilization. The galaxy struggled to accept it. Former enemies now sat beside Vorakai ambassadors in interstellar councils. Human children raised on Kharon Prime became translators between species. Some humans even chose to live there permanently, including Mia. Years later, Commander Elena visited Kharon Prime one final time. The once feared predator nests had transformed into thriving cities carved into jungle cliffs and volcanic mountains. Human laughter echoed beside deep Vorakai growls. Children of both species played together beneath glowing jungle skies. Mia greeted Elena near the central nesting grounds. "You were right," Mia said softly. Elena smiled sadly. "No, I was desperate. You saved us." Elena looked around at the impossible world surrounding her. Massive Vorakai carried human toddlers gently in armored arms. Fires burned peacefully between species once separated by fear and violence. Then she noticed an ancient Vorakai approaching slowly. Its scales were scarred with age. Its glowing amber eyes focused directly on Elena. Mia smiled. "This is Rakor." Elena froze. She recognized those eyes. The Vorakai female who had first approached the crying infant years ago. Rakor lowered herself carefully before Elena. Then, slowly, respectfully, the giant predator bowed its head. Elena's eyes filled with tears. "You remember," she whispered. Rakor released a deep rumbling sound that echoed through the valley, not threatening, not savage, warm, grateful. And in that moment, Elena finally understood the truth. The galaxy had spent centuries fearing the Vorakai because they looked like monsters. But real monsters had tried to exterminate innocent children. The predators had protected them. Humanity had abandoned their babies in predator nests expecting survival by miracle. Instead, they found family. Thank you for listening. Subscribe for more cinematic science fiction stories.